Her ex pulled a gun in a university library and she chose the Mafia boss standing behind him. James Mercer asked Alina to meet him alone in the linguistics section, claiming he could put her in witness protection, but grief and obsession had broken him. He grabbed her, accused her of sleeping with Victor, and pressed a gun against her side, demanding every secret she knew. And Victor appeared at the end of the aisle, calm as death, and told James he was being used by someone else. In that moment, Alina saw both men clearly, one unraveling in the name of justice, one dangerous enough to save her without flinching. She struck James, broke free, and stepped to Victor's side. Tonight's story begins on a freezing November night in Chicago, outside a club called Nocturne, where the kind of people with money do not wait in line. Alina Foster stands near the service entrance, rubbing warmth into her hands after a 10-hour shift. Her rent is due. She is $200 short. Her manager, Marcus, is barking at her about the Sokolov party arriving any minute. She should keep her head down, finish the shift, and go home. Instead, when she hears they need someone who understands Russian, she thinks of her useless linguistics degree and steps toward the one door she should have avoided. Inside Nocturne, everything is meant to intimidate. Dark blue walls, black marble floors, velvet curtains thick enough to swallow sound. Alina carries a tray through the private corridor and hears a man say in Russian, "The territory is not negotiable." She stops. Every sane instinct tells her to turn around. Then she remembers the eviction notice folded inside her purse. She takes a breath, puts on her waitress smile, and enters. 7 men sit around the table, but only one makes the air feel colder. He is not the loudest. He does not need to be. His eyes find hers, and Alina feels as if she has walked into a room that is already locked behind her. Victor Sokolov sits at the head of the table in a plain black shirt, perfectly still while everyone else seems to orbit him. His gray eyes are unreadable. Alina reaches for the wine list and keeps her voice calm. When he orders in Russian, she answers him in the same language before she can stop herself. The silence that follows is immediate. One man lowers his glass, another turns his head. Victor's gaze sharpens. "You speak Russian," he says in English. Alina's throat tightens. She gives a small nervous smile, but it is already too late. She has stopped being the waitress. Now she is a question he intends to answer. Victor asks where she learned the language. Alina says Northwestern, then adds too quickly that her grandmother came from St. Petersburg. The answer sounds honest because it is, but truth does not make it safe. Victor gives one quiet order in Russian. The room empties. Chairs scrape back. Men leave without argument, and suddenly Alina is alone with him, and one massive bodyguard by the door. "I only came for the wine list," she says. Victor studies her as if deciding whether that matters. Her heart bangs against her ribs. A minute ago, she was worried about rent. Now a man with power in every corner of the city wants to know why she heard his private conversation. Then Victor changes his tone. His voice softens, almost polite. He asks for the wine list again, as if nothing has happened. That shift is what unsettles her most. Fear is easier to understand than gentleness from a dangerous man. He tells her his name, though everyone in the room already knows it, and says, "Bring the list to my office, room 301. It sounds like an invitation, only if you are desperate enough to need it to be one. Alina nods because refusing feels impossible. She backs out of the room with her palms damp. The terrible feeling that she has just agreed to something far larger than delivering wine. Marcus catches her in the hall, his face pale. "What did you say to him?" he hisses. Alina tries to answer, but Victor's bodyguard steps between them, silent and enormous. Marcus shuts his mouth. That frightens her more than his shouting ever could. In Nocturne, everyone has rules, and Victor Sokolov is above all of them. Alina clutches the leather wine list and follows the guard to the elevator. The doors close. The club music fades into a thin vibration under her feet. She watches the numbers climb and understands, too late, that the higher she goes, the farther she is from anyone who might help her, until the elevator reaches the 3rd floor. Then he says Mr. Sokolov does not get angry. He gets even. The doors open before she can respond. Room 301 is not an office so much as a private kingdom. Shelves of rare books, a city skyline glittering beyond glass, a desk too clean to belong to anyone ordinary. Victor has removed his jacket. He looks relaxed, which somehow makes him more dangerous. Alina steps inside and notices there are no family photos. No clutter, nothing careless. Every object has been chosen. Even the silence feels arranged. Victor takes the wine list from her and drops it on the desk without opening it. "Do you know who I am?" he asks. Alina says she knows he is important. That makes him smile, but there is no warmth in it. He turns his laptop toward her. On the screen is her name, her school records, her old scholarship, her address, even the jobs she lost after graduation. The elevator ride could not have taken more than 5 minutes. In that time, he has pulled apart her life. I do not believe in coincidences, he says. Alina stares at her own history on his screen and feels the first real crack of panic open inside her. Victor reads her like a file. Honors graduate. Linguistics. Russian. Unpaid rent. No current family support except one sick grandmother. Alina hates that last part most. I am not spying on you, she says. I pour drinks. Victor leans back, listening not only to her words but to the pauses between them. People who pour drinks hear everything, he says. Some sell what they hear. She almost laughs because the idea is absurd, but his face tells her not to. In that room, absurdity does not protect her. He wants to know whether she is a threat. Worse, he is starting to see that she might be useful. The questions keep coming. Has she ever worked with police? Does she know anyone in federal law enforcement? Has anyone asked her about him before tonight? Alina answers no until the word begins to sound thin. Her knees weaken. Victor notices. He gestures toward the leather chair across from his desk. Sit. It is not concern. It is instruction. She sits anyway, still in her stained uniform, surrounded by polished wood and money that could erase every bill she has. Victor pours water into a glass and slides it to her. She does not drink. She is afraid even accepting water will count as owing him something. Victor comes around the desk and sits close enough that she can see the faint scar near his knuckle. What exactly did you hear? He asks. Alina swallows. Something about territory. Non-negotiable. For the first time, his expression changes. Not much, just a stillness settling over him. Then, instead of shouting, he reaches for a silver tea set on the side table. My mother made blackcurrant jam like this, he says, preparing the cup himself. The scent hits Alina hard. Her grandmother's kitchen. Old curtains. Winter mornings. Her fear softens before she can stop it. That is the first mistake her heart makes. Victor names her debts one by one. Rent, student loans, hospital bills from her grandmother's last treatment. Alina grips the arms of the chair. How do you know that? He doesn't answer. He does not need to. Instead, he says he has a position for her. Translation, meetings, discretion, a salary 5 times what Nocturne pays. Alina almost refuses on instinct, but then he adds one more thing. Access to the best oncologist in Chicago for her grandmother. The room tilts. She knows what he is doing. And still the offer lands exactly where he aimed it, not at her ambition, at her fear. Alina stands so fast the chair scrapes the floor. You cannot just buy people. Victor looks up at her. Everyone says that before they learn the price of what they love. The words are ugly because they are too close to the truth. She asks why he wants her. Really, he says he trusts what he can control. And right now she is uncontrolled information. There it is, clear and cold. The job is not a gift. It is a leash with medical care attached. But in Alina's mind, her grandmother's face rises above everything else. The tubes, the weak smile, the bills. Victor watches her silence and knows he has already found the door in. She should walk out. She even turns toward the door. But before her hand reaches the knob, Victor says, Your manager has already been informed that you are no longer employed here. Alina spins back. You fired me. I removed a bad option. Her anger burns hot, then collapses under the weight of rent and hospital bills. She asks when the job starts. Victor's expression does not change, but something in the room seems to settle. He calls in the bodyguard. Alexei will take you home. Pack what you need. Alina realizes then that she has not accepted a job. She has stepped into a system already moving around her. The handshake is cold, dry, and final. Alina tells herself this is temporary. 6 months. Enough money to help her grandmother. Enough distance to think. But the black Escalade waiting outside does not feel temporary. Its windows are too dark, its doors close too softly. Alexei drives without asking where she lives, because Victor already knows. The city slides past in broken reflections. Alina stares at her own face in the glass and tries to recognize the woman looking back. She went to work hungry and exhausted. She is leaving in a car owned by a man who collects secrets like weapons. Her roommate Zoe texts before they reach the apartment. Are you alive? Alina types back, long shift. Tell you later. The lie feels small, but it opens a space between her and the only people who might have pulled her back. Alexei follows her up the stairs. When she says he can wait outside, he answers no. One word, no explanation. Her key shakes in the lock. Inside, the apartment smells like old coffee and cheap radiator heat. For a second, she wants to cry from the normalness of it, and even her own home feels borrowed. Zoe and Maya come out of the kitchen, alarmed by the silent man in the doorway. Alina hears herself inventing a story about a corporate translation job, relocation, better pay. The lie sounds polished enough to scare her. Zoe does not believe it. Alina avoids her eyes and packs fast jeans, sweaters, her grandmother's Russian books, the scarf she wears when she misses home. The nocturne uniform lies on the floor like a shed skin. She throws it into the trash, wanting it to mean freedom. Instead, it feels like evidence. She's not leaving poverty behind. She is walking into wealth with a lock hidden somewhere inside it. Zoe follows her into the bedroom. "Who is he?" she whispers. Alina folds clothes she does not need. "A businessman. Businessmen do not send soldiers to escort waitresses." Alina snaps that she is tired of being broke, tired of begging landlords, tired of pretending a degree can pay for chemotherapy. Zoe goes quiet. That silence hurts more than an argument. Alina softens and says she will be careful. She means it, but careful has already become a word people use when they are doing something reckless and need it to sound manageable. From the hall, Alexei calls her name. New life is impatient. Zoe blocks the door one last time. "Men like this do not rescue people, Alina. They collect them." Alina wants to answer, but there is no answer that does not sound weak. Downstairs, the Escalade waits with its engine running. The drive takes her away from cracked sidewalks, flickering streetlights, and laundromats glowing blue in the cold. Then Lakeshore Drive opens before her, all glass towers and private entrances. The building Victor has chosen for her looks like it belongs to a different city. Alina steps out with 2 bags and the feeling that poverty has been swapped for something cleaner, quieter, and harder to escape. The doorman knows her name. That unsettles her more than it should. He hands her a key card and says the concierge is available at all hours. Alina looks around the marble lobby, the chandelier, the discreet cameras in the corners. Everything glitters. Everything watches. Victor lives in the penthouse. Her apartment is on the 32nd floor, close enough to reach, far enough to remind her she is not equal. The elevator rises without sound. When the doors open, she finds a hallway so quiet it feels staged. For one breath, she lets herself enjoy the luxury. Then she remembers she did not choose the address. The apartment is beautiful in a way that almost feels violent. Glass walls. Perfect furniture. Fresh flowers. A bathtub big enough to drown worry in. Alina sets her bag down carefully, afraid to wrinkle the silence. On the bed waits a white box tied with a black silk ribbon. No card, no explanation. She stands there for a long moment before opening it. Inside is a burgundy silk nightgown, folded around tissue paper scented faintly of roses. Her stomach tightens. This is not a welcome gift. It is Victor entering the room without being there. He has chosen what she should wear before she has slept one night under his roof. Alina lifts the nightgown and immediately knows it will fit. That is what makes her hands shake. He knows her size, her address, her debts, her grandmother's doctor. How much more does he know? She hangs the silk in the closet and leaves it there like something dangerous. Then she pulls on her old college sweatshirt and faded pajama pants, stubbornly ordinary in the middle of all that polished wealth. It is a tiny act of resistance, but tonight she needs it, and checks it twice, though she knows locks mean very little in a building chosen by Viktor Sokolov. Sleep takes her before she can decide whether to call Zoe back. When she wakes, sunlight spills across the floor, and for one disorienting second she forgets why the room is unfamiliar. Her phone shows 3 missed calls from Zoe and 1 voicemail from her grandmother. Alina does not play either. Not yet, on the kitchen counter. Coffee waits beside warm pastries, delivered before she asked. She tells herself she deserves one good morning after so many bad ones. She eats standing up, wrapped in her old sweatshirt, while the city shines beyond the glass. Comfort arrives first. Questions can wait. That is how the room starts winning. Alina dresses like she is going into battle. Black trousers, white blouse, low heels, grandmother's vintage scarf tied at her throat. It is the only thing in the apartment that truly belongs to her. She expects an office downtown. Instead, Irina calls with a crisp voice and says the car will take her to Mr. Sokolov's residence. Alina pauses. "I thought I was working for the company." Irina does not miss a beat. "You are working where he needs you." Downstairs, another guard waits. This one is Mihail. Broad-shouldered, silent and clearly armed. The job description is already shrinking. The cage is learning her schedule. During the ride, Alina watches everything. The driver's posture, the route, the way Mikhail checks the mirrors without seeming to. It is not curiosity anymore. It is inventory. Victor's mansion rises above the lake, like a fortress built by someone who expects betrayal. Glass, stone, biometric gates, cameras tucked into the angles of the walls. A woman named Marina Petrova meets her at the entrance with a smile too disciplined to be friendly. "Mr. Sokolov values punctuality," Marina says. Alina looks at the locked gate behind her and the guarded door ahead. She understands that punctuality is only one of many things Victor values because he can control it. They lead her past armed men and through halls so clean they feel unused. Victor waits in his study, standing before the lake in a gray cashmere sweater instead of a suit. It should make him seem softer. It does not. He turns when she enters and notices the scarf. Your grandmother S. Alina stiffens. Yes, he nods as if he has confirmed something private. She lies and says she slept well. The lie comes too easily. Victor hears it anyway. No, you did not, he says, then he gestures for her to sit. And she obeys because arguing over sleep feels foolish when he has already stolen so much larger truths. A maid pours coffee. Victor dismisses her before Alina can take a breath. Alone again. He says she must have questions. Alina has dozens. But she chooses the safest one. What exactly do you want me to do? For the first time. Victor looks almost pleased. Translate. Listen, notice what others miss. He slides a folder toward her. Inside are names, photos, business interests, personal habits. Alina turns a page and sees notes about a man's gambling debt. Another S-mistress. Another S-sick child. This is not translation, she says. Victor's answer is calm. Language is never only words. Then he places a second folder on top of the first. Alina opens it and goes cold. Her grandmother's medical file, ovarian cancer, recent scans, insurance denials, notes from doctors who sound careful because they cannot promise anything. How did you get this? She whispers. Victor says. The better question is why your insurance company delayed treatment. He names a specialist, Dr. Abramson, and says an appointment can be arranged by tomorrow. Alina wants to throw the file at him. Instead, tears burn behind her eyes. He has violated the most private part of her life, then handed her the one thing she cannot refuse. Alina closes the folder slowly. You are using her. Victor does not deny it. I am giving you a reason to be loyal. The honesty is almost worse than a lie. He tells her his terms. Perfection, silence. No outside conversations about his business, no surprises. She asks what happens if she refuses. He lets the question hang long enough for her imagination to answer it. Then he says, your grandmother keeps her appointment either way. I am not cruel without purpose. Alina should feel relieved. She does not. Mercy from a man like Victor is not freedom. It is another room in the same house. He tests her before the coffee cools. Another folder appears. Thicker than the rest. 6 months of her life are marked in red. No job, no rent payment. No bank activity. Alina's breath catches. That is private. Victor taps the paper. Nothing about you is private now. He asks where she was. She says Philadelphia. Caring for family. He brings up James Mercer. The name lands like a slap. Her ex-boyfriend. Crime reporter. The man whose betrayal once made her leave town and disappear. Victor watches her face change. Everything connected to you matters to me, he says. Alina realizes he is not only studying her present, he is digging up weapons from her past. Victor says James Mercer has spent 8 months investigating him. Alina laughs once, sharp and disbelieving. So you think I walked into your club because of James? I think coincidences are how careless men die. She stands, anger giving her balance for the first time all morning. I am not his spy. Victor's voice cuts through the room. Sit down, Alina. She sits before pride can catch up. He says he believes her, then adds that her phone will be monitored and her movements tracked until he is certain. She stares at him. That is not protection. Victor leans forward. It is for what belongs to me. The words should make her run. Instead, they pin her in place. I am not yours, she says, but her voice is softer than she wants. For a moment, the silence becomes more intimate than any touch. For now, he says. Before she can answer, the door opens. Petrov steps in, talking fast in Russian, carrying the smell of tobacco and trouble. Victor looks away first, and Alina inhales as if she has been underwater. The interruption saves her from responding, but it does not save her from the thought. Now moving through her mind, some part of her had wanted to know what he meant. In the conference room, Alina does what she knows how to do. She translates. Petrov speaks in slurred regional Russian, messy with slang and half-threats. Alina turns it into clean English without losing the sharp edges, numbers, routes, delays, names she pretends not to memorize. Victor watches from the far end of the table. She can feel his approval like heat on the back of her neck. Work gives her something to hold on to, so she holds too tightly. If she is useful, maybe she is safe. If she is brilliant, maybe this becomes a career instead of a trap. The mind can dress fear in very professional clothes. For 2 hours, Alina translates as powerful men test each other with smiles that never reach their eyes. At one point, Petrov mutters a joke about betrayal, and Alina chooses the cleaner version. Victor notices. After the meeting, he stops beside her. "Do not soften knives," he says. She looks up. "Then do not hand me so many." For a second, something like amusement crosses his face. Later, at a private club overlooking Millennium Park, she watches CEOs greet Victor with careful laughter and fear hidden under gold watches. The world is bigger than she imagined, and uglier. Yet she also feels, shamefully, that she has been invited behind the curtain. Dinner is not on her schedule. But Victor does not ask. Irina arrives with a garment bag and says Mr. Sokolov expects her at 7. Alina looks at the dress inside. Dark green satin. Expensive enough to make refusing feel ungrateful. "I have clothes," she says. Irina's smile does not move. "Not for this." The sentence stays with her. Not for this world. Not for him. Alina changes because arguing with servants feels pointless when the order came from the top. In the mirror, she barely recognizes herself. The dress fits perfectly. Of course it does. Victor-esque control has taste. That makes it easier to wear and harder to hate. Case file 94 moves from fear into grooming so quietly that Alina almost misses the turn. At 6:45, the car is waiting. At 7, Victor stands in the mansion foyer in a custom suit, his eyes taking in every detail of the dress he chose. Alina says, "You could have asked." Victor answers, "Would you have said yes?" She does not reply. That silence gives him the victory. He offers his arm, and she hesitates only long enough to feel foolish before taking it. The evening is beautiful before it is dangerous, which is exactly why it works. Victor leads her to a rooftop garden sealed in glass against the cold. The city glitters below. Candles burn on the table. Someone has warmed the air, chosen the music, placed white roses in narrow vases. Every detail feels romantic until Alina remembers every detail was ordered. "This is a lot for an employee dinner," she says. Victor pulls out her chair. "An ordinary employee." The line should alarm her, but it lands somewhere softer. During the first course, he asks about her childhood. Not like a man making conversation, but like someone searching for the hidden hinges in a locked door. Alina tells him about her grandmother teaching her Russian proverbs while soup simmered on the stove. She tells him about wanting to become a professor and taking waitress jobs just for a year until the years swallowed the plan. Victor listens as if every word matters. Then she realizes he has answered almost nothing about himself. "You ask like a prosecutor," she says, "and you dodge like a defendant." His mouth curves. Survival habit. "So is lying," she says. The wine loosens her courage. "Am I another habit?" Victor does not pretend to misunderstand. "No," he says. "You are an interest." The simplicity of it frightens her more than a confession. He tells her he is not a good man. He says it quietly, almost kindly, as if warning her makes whatever comes next fair. Alina should thank him for the honesty and leave. Instead, she hears pain beneath the words and makes the mistake of looking for the wound. Victor speaks of his sister Natasha, brilliant and reckless, gone before she turned 20. For the first time, the mask cracks. Alina sees grief. Real grief. That is what makes it dangerous. Monsters with human pain are still monsters, but pain makes people want to forgive them before they have asked to be forgiven. Victor reaches across the table and touches 2 fingers to her wrist. "Your pulse is racing." Alina pulls back too late. "Because you scare me." "Good," he says. Fear is honest. She hates that her body reacts to him in ways she cannot organize into simple categories. She is afraid. She is angry. She is drawn in. To steady herself, she asks about Natasha. Victor's face changes again, softer this time, and he tells her his sister loved storms, fast cars, and men who wanted to own what they could not understand. Alina hears the warning beneath the story. She also hears the invitation. When Alina asks how Natasha died, Victor's jaw tightens. Trusting the wrong family. The answer is not enough, and they both know it. His phone rings before she can press him. He answers in Russian, and the man from dinner vanishes. His voice turns flat, efficient, merciless. Someone has failed him. Someone will pay. Alina sits frozen, the candlelight suddenly too warm, the roses too white. Victor ends the call and looks at her as if nothing has changed. But it has. The gentle brother is gone. The man who controls consequences is back. Alina understands both versions are real, and that is what makes him impossible to dismiss. Victor walks her to the car himself. At the door, his hand rests at the small of her back, light enough to seem polite, firm enough to tell her who is guiding whom. "Do not let Mercer contact you," he says. Alina turns. "Is that an order? It is advice. You will survive." She wants to argue, but the driver is watching. Their guards are watching. The house is watching. Victor brushes a strand of hair from her cheek. The gesture is tender. The context is not. In the car, Alina presses her fingers where he touched her and hates that the place still feels warm. Sleep does not come. Alina sits on the edge of the guest bed in the apartment. Victor provided and finally calls her grandmother. She lies quickly, brightly, saying the job is translation work for a wealthy Russian businessman. Her grandmother laughs and asks if he is handsome. Alina laughs too hard. "He is my boss. That was not my question." For a moment it feels like an ordinary family call. Then Alina mentions Dr. Abramson and the appointment Victor arranged. The line goes quiet. Her grandmother asks how this is possible. Alina says the company has excellent benefits. Into her own ears, the lie sounds expensive. Her grandmother's voice changes when Alina says the name Viktor Sokolov. "Alina," she says very slowly, "do you know who that man is?" Alina tries to joke, but her grandmother does not follow. A name carried through immigrant neighborhoods in whispers. "Men like that do not give gift. They plant flags." Alina looks out at the shining apartment and feels suddenly cold. She says people exaggerate. Her grandmother says she survived men who smiled while ordering terrible things. "Promise me you will stay away from him." Alina looks at the silk nightgown still hanging untouched in the closet. She cannot promise. In the morning, Alina has done what frightened people often do. She has buried the warning under practical reasons. The treatment matters. The money matters. Victor may be dangerous, but James was dangerous in a different way. At least Victor is honest about it. Mikhail drives her to a West Loop compound with security tighter than the mansion. Biometric scanners, steel doors, armed guards who know her face before she speaks. The building does not pretend to be welcoming. It is built for control. Alina steps through the final door and tells herself she is choosing this for her grandmother. The sentence is true. It is also incomplete. Irina meets her with a stack of files and no patience. 6 men from Moscow are arriving by noon. Alina must know their businesses, grudges, loyalties, weaknesses, and preferred insults. For 3 hours, she studies names until they blur. She learns who drinks too much, who hates being interrupted, who lost a brother in prison, who hides money through art dealers. It is not translation prep. It is ammunition. Alina recognizes the pattern and still excels at it. That frightens her more than failure would have. Talent is safest when it serves your own life. In Victor's world, talent quickly becomes another chain. After the meeting, Victor calls her into a sterile office that smells of leather and cold metal. "You did well," he says. Alina should not care. She does, then he places a dossier on the desk. James Mercer's name is printed on the tab. Inside are surveillance photos, phone records, hotel receipts, coffee shop meetings, everything. Alina's stomach turns. One photo shows James outside Northwestern, speaking to a nervous man in a gray coat. "No," she says before Victor asks. "I will not spy on him." Victor looks almost disappointed, as if she has failed an easy lesson. "You still think refusal is a door?" Alina pushes the file back. Victor does not raise his voice. He only mentions that her grandmother's appointment with Dr. Abramson is tomorrow morning at 9. The room goes silent around the threat. "You said she would get the appointment either way." "She will," he pauses. "But treatment is not one appointment." Alina feels the words hit exactly where he intended. Her anger has nowhere safe to go. Victor says James has information that could get people killed, including her. Alina knows that may be true. She also knows Victor is using truth as a blade. That is the worst part. Lies are easier to hate than half-truths. Alina reads the first page of James' file with shaking hands. He is meeting sources, following shipping records, building something bigger than a story. Victor watches her struggle. "You are not betraying him," he says. "You are preventing a disaster." She looks up. "Do you ever get tired of making cages sound like shelter?" For a moment his eyes flash. Then he smiles slow and dangerous. There she is. The praise lands before she can reject it. She hates that. She hates that his approval feels like sunlight after a cold room. This is not love, and hunger learning to speak the same language. Victor steps closer, then stops himself, returning to that controlled professionalism that somehow feels more intimate than touch. "Call him," he says. Alina asks if loyalty can be bought. Victor answers, no, but desperation can be rented until loyalty follows. The honesty is so ugly it steals her breath. She takes out her phone and finds James's number. Her thumb hovers over the screen. She thinks of her grandmother's hands, thin and blue-veined, folded over a hospital blanket. Then she presses call. James answers on the third ring, tired and guarded. Alina. She closes her eyes and makes her voice warm. Can we meet? James is suspicious at once, and both of them remember why. Alina says life is short, people change, and she does not want old bitterness sitting between them forever. The words feel borrowed from someone kinder. James hesitates, then agrees to meet at Miller's pub at 7. When the call ends, Alina lowers the phone as if it is heavier than before. Victor nods once. Approval again. She wants to throw the phone at him. Instead, she asks what he wants from James. Names, Victor says. Dates. Locations. And whether he trusts you enough to give them. The answer makes her feel dirty before she has even left the room. Mikhail drops her outside Miller's pub with a strict 2-hour limit. Mr. Sokolov will know if you leave with him. He says. Alina does not ask how. Inside, James looks older than she remembers. Exhaustion has hollowed his face, and there is a tremor in the hand wrapped around his beer. When he sees her pearl earrings, his eyes narrow. Alina takes them off and slips them into her purse. New job, she says too quickly. James gives a humorless laugh. Looks like a rich one. She sits across from him, feeling the wire of Victor expectation wrapped around every word she has not said yet. Small talk dies fast. James asks why she called after all this time. Alina invents a story about an old college friend getting sick and making her rethink grudges. James softens, and that softness hurts. He admits he was selfish when they were together, that he hurt her and knew it. For one dangerous second, Alina almost forgets why she came. Then she sees Mikhail through the window, parked across the street. She orders a vodka tonic with a hand that will not stay steady. Trust sits on the table between them like something fragile. Alina knows she is about to put a crack straight through it. When she mentions her translation work, James' reporter instincts wake up. For who? He asks. Alina lets the name fall carefully. Victor Sokolov. James sets his glass down with the slow caution of someone handling a live wire. Tell me you are joking. She says the pay is good, the work is temporary, and her grandmother needs care. James leans back, staring at her as if she has stepped off a ledge. Not a businessman. She gives him the public version: real estate, shipping, foreign investors. James almost laughs. That is the wallpaper. You do not want to know what is behind it. James tells her what he has found. Narcotics routes hidden in shipping manifests. Weapons moving through shell companies. Young women disappearing after club jobs that look too good to be real. Alina's fingers go cold around her glass. Do you have proof? He lowers his voice. Inside source, records from the port, and a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night. Alina keeps her face still while every detail lodges in her mind. She came to gather information, but hearing it from James makes the danger feel less stylish, less distant. Victor's world is not just suits and black cars. It has bodies buried under the shine. James reaches for her hand. She lets him because pulling away might make him suspicious. Has he made you translate anything strange? He asks. Alina lies. Contracts. Dull investor meetings. Nothing dramatic. James does not believe her. He says Sokolov ruins people. Disappearances. Car crashes. Men found in rivers after crossing him. Alina says she can handle herself. James's grip tightens. That is what everyone thinks before they understand what he is. His fear is real, and that makes her guilt worse. Pushing, pressing, trying to pull her into his battle. Between Victor and James, Alina starts to feel less like a woman and more like evidence. Finally, Alina admits the truth she can bear to say. Victor is paying for her grandmother's cancer treatment. James goes still. He understands the trap instantly. That is not help, he says. That is a leash. The word hurts, because she has already thought it. He begs her to leave, offers to connect her to people who can protect witnesses. Alina asks when his story will publish. James hesitates, then says a few weeks. Maybe sooner if tomorrow's source confirms the records. The source is meeting him near Northwestern after midnight. Alina nods as if she is scared for him. She is. She is also memorizing every word. James walks her to the door. Call me if he threatens you, he says. Alina promises, though she can feel the lie sitting between her teeth. He hugs her once, awkward and heavy, with things they never repaired. Outside, the Escalade waits. Mikhail opens the door and says Victor wants to see her immediately. 9, she is back at the lakefront mansion. Hands cold despite the heated seats. As she enters Victor's office, she realizes betrayal does not always feel like a dramatic choice. Give me the phone, Sophia. Sometimes it feels like repeating what someone told you over a drink, while convincing yourself you had no other way to survive. Victor listens without interrupting. Alina gives him the source, the meeting, the timeline. With each sentence, Jameson feels farther away, and Victor's room feels more like the place where consequences are decided. When she finishes, Victor pours vodka into 2 glasses and hands one to her. You did well. She does not want the praise. She drinks anyway. Then she tells him James said Victor's enemies suffer accidents. Victor's face darkens by a fraction. Mercer talks too much. Alina sets the glass down. Do not hurt him. Victor looks at her for a long time. Then do not make him necessary. Alina asks if the rumors are true. The crashes, the bodies, the men who vanish. Victor does not answer directly. Disloyalty has consequences. She laughs, but it breaks in the middle. So what am I now? Employee, informant, property. Victor steps closer. You chose the deal. You cornered me. I showed you the cost of pretending you had no choices. His cruelty is calm enough to pass for philosophy. Then he mentions her grandmother again. Softly, almost gently. And Alina hates him for knowing exactly where to press. She also hates herself for staying in the room. The door is behind her. Her legs do not move. Not tonight. Alina stiffens. He explains that it is too late, that the roads are unsafe, that Irina has prepared a room. Every reason sounds practical. Together, they form a wall. Irina appears with silk pajamas, cashmere robes, and a face that says resistance would be childish. The guest room is stunning, soft carpet, lake view, fresh towels, silence thick as snow. Alina knows the room is part of the same machinery as the surveillance and the threats. Still, exhaustion pulls at her. A cage is easier to enter when someone has made the bed perfectly. After a long shower, Alina stands before the mirror in a robe too soft to feel real. She is trying to wash off Miller's pub, James' tired eyes, Victor's approval. Then she steps into the bedroom and finds Victor there with a tray of tea. Her body goes rigid. You cannot be in here. I can, he says, then after a pause, but I will leave if you truly want me to. The offer is almost respectful. Almost. Alina should say yes. Instead, she asks why he is there. Victor lifts the cup. 'Cause you looked like someone about to break. The kindness arrives late and trespasses when it enters. He tells her the tea is his mother's recipe. The same kind Natasha drank when storms frightened her as a child. Alina stays near the door but listens. Victor speaks of his sister carefully, as if each memory has sharp edges. Natasha was brilliant, reckless, impossible to command. She would have liked you, he says. Alina knows comparison is a hook, yet it lands. Being seen by Victor feels dangerous because he sees too much and still wants more. She asks what happened to Natasha. He sets the tray down, and for the first time that night, his control looks tired. She trusted someone I failed to kill soon enough. The sentence should chill Alina. It does. But beneath it she hears grief so raw it changes the shape of him. Victor says everything he built, after Natasha's death, was meant to make sure no one under his protection could be taken from him again. Am I under your protection? Alina asks before she can stop herself. Victor looks at her, like he has been waiting for the question. You were the moment you chose to stay. She argues that she stayed for money, for medicine, for survival. Victor steps closer. That is what you tell yourself. The worst part is not that he says it. The worst part is that she cannot answer quickly. Victor reaches toward her wet hair, and Alina catches his wrist. For 1 second, both of them freeze. Her hand is small around his, but she does not let go. Do not decide what I feel, she says. Victor's eyes sharpen. Then he turns his wrist slowly, not forcing free, just making her aware of how much strength he is not using. And tell me, he says, are you afraid of me? Yes. Do you want me to leave? The honest answer should be simple. It is not. Alina releases his wrist as if it burned her. Victor cups her cheek once, barely touching. I am dangerous, he says. This time it sounds like both warning and confession. Victor tells her she is the only thing in his life that has felt unexpected in years. The line is too intimate, too practiced, and yet something in his voice sounds real enough to hurt. Alina whispers that he does not get to turn loneliness into a claim. He almost smiles. Then his phone buzzes. The softness disappears so completely it feels like watching a mask snap back into place. He answers, listens, and says only, find her. When he leaves, the room seems larger and colder. Alina stands alone in the robe, understanding that whatever tenderness he offered existed inside the same man who can order someone hunted without blinking. Morning brings no clarity. Alina finds herself arranging the robe, the slippers, the untouched teacup, as if tidying the room can make the situation reasonable. Irina arrives with the hospital schedule for her grandmother, and a warning disguised as courtesy. Mikhail will accompany her. Alina should feel only relief at leaving the mansion. Instead, she feels a strange ache when she realizes Victor will not be there. That frightens her more than his anger. Missing the person who holds the key is how the mind starts adapting to a locked door. She presses her palms together until the feeling passes, then tells herself she is still in control. At the hospital, fluorescent light strips away the glamour. Her grandmother looks smaller in the examination room, but her eyes are sharp. She notices Mikhail waiting near the elevators and asks why a translator needs a guard. Alina says Victor is cautious. Her grandmother says, "No, child, he is possessive." Dr. Abramson arrives with a treatment plan that sounds more hopeful than anything they have heard in months. Alina feels gratitude rise so fast it scares her. Victor's money has opened a door that should have been open already. That does not make the money clean, but love does not always wait for clean options. After the doctor leaves, her grandmother takes Alina's hand. "Listen to me. Men like Sokolov do not compromise. They swallow." Alina tries to laugh it off, but tears come instead. She says she can manage him. Her grandmother looks past her toward Mikhail. "Then tell him to leave." Alina does not. She cannot. The truth sits there in the room, heavier than any diagnosis. Her grandmother squeezes her fingers. "If you cannot say no, you are not working for him. You are trapped by him." Alina wants to argue. Instead, she kisses her grandmother's hand and says she has to go back. Victor texts as she leaves the hospital, "How is she?" For a few seconds, Alina lets herself believe he asked because he cares. She types that the doctor gave them hope. His reply comes quickly, "Good. Come to the office. Need to discuss Mercer's source." The warmth disappears. There it is, the hidden invoice. Hope first, obedience after. Alina looks back through the hospital doors at the woman she loves most, then toward the black car waiting at the curb. The choice is not dramatic anymore. That is what frightens her. She simply gets in, because this is what her life has become. By the time she reaches Victor's office, Alina is exhausted in a way sleep cannot fix. Irina meets her in the hall, pale under her perfect makeup. "Something happened," she says. "The building feels different, tighter, as if everyone is holding their breath." Inside Victor's office, the blinds are drawn. Men speak in low voices and stop when Alina enters. On Victor's desk sits a single photograph of him and Natasha, turned slightly toward the wall. Alina notices because it is the only personal thing in the room. Victor catches her looking. Instead of hiding it, he turns the frame back toward her. "She hated being ignored," he says. For a moment, Victor speaks like a brother, not a boss. Natasha used to correct his grammar, steal his cigarettes, and throw chess games only when she wanted him to underestimate her. Alina almost smiles. Bed that morning. The smile dies before it starts. "Anton Kanov," he says. "My head of security." Alina grips the edge of the chair. The murdered source was not only James' informant, he was Victor's man. Suddenly, the story she thought she understood splits open. Victor watches her reaction carefully. Grief, suspicion, fear, he collects each one from her face before deciding what to say next. Victor admits Anton was killed inside one of his own safe locations. That should be impossible. And someone close to him is feeding information, maybe setting him up. Alina hears the unspoken accusation and steps back. "You think it was me." Victor moves closer. "If I thought it was you, this conversation would be different." The comfort in that sentence is colder than a threat. He says Mercer is being used, and Alina may be the only way to reach him before more people die. She sees the trap forming and hates how well it is built. This time, Victor is not asking her to betray James for business. He is asking her to do it to survive. Alina says no. Not loudly, not bravely. Just no. Victor's eyes harden. He reminds her that whoever killed Anton now knows about James. About the article. Maybe about her grandmother's treatment. Fear lands in 3 separate places at once. Alina backs toward the door. Victor catches her arm. "Not enough to hurt. Enough to stop. Do not walk into danger just to prove I do not own you." She looks at his hand on her arm. Then let go. For a second. He does not. Then he releases her. That tiny act should feel like a victory. Instead, it feels like permission granted by a man who still believes the choice belongs to him. She tells him she wants out. He goes very still. Then he says the Bratva killed his parents when he was 17, and Natasha when he was 19. He says he learned young that anyone you love becomes a map enemies can read. Alina does not want to be moved by it, but the story hits a place in her that understands terror disguised as control. Victor says he built walls because open doors got people killed. "I am not your sister," she says. "No," he answers. "That is why you are still alive." The words are monstrous. They are also wounded. Alina feels herself weakening and hates him for making cruelty sound like grief. Victor does not beg. He gives her a choice shaped like a command. Wear a wire. Meet James. Find out who else he told. If she refuses, he says he will handle Mercer his own way. Alina hears what that means. She thinks of James' tired face, her grandmother's warning, Anton dead in a place that should have been safe. Then she thinks of the part of herself that has been shrinking with every compromise. Fine, she says, but her voice has changed. I do this once. My way. Victor looks at her for a long moment. Careful, Alina. Power suits you faster than innocence did. That line stays with her as they prepare the wire. Alina watches Victor's men move around her, clipping the tiny transmitter beneath her blouse. Testing sound, checking exits on a tablet. She should feel used. Beneath the fear is something darker, a cold, focused clarity. For the first time, she is not only being pulled, she is watching the ropes. She asks for one change to the plan and Victor allows it. Not because he is kind, because she is right. Alina realizes usefulness can become leverage if she is brave enough to use it. Survival has teeth. She is only beginning to feel them. Before she can leave. James calls. Victor orders speaker. James is panicking. His voice cracking as he says Anton Nov has been executed and someone is coming after the evidence. Victor's face goes blank. He signals to his men, and the room erupts into silent motion. Surveillance on Northwestern. Teams to the library. Cars on all exits. Alina watches him command disaster without raising his voice. Then James says he trusts only her. The words twist inside her. Victor looks at her. And she understands the plan has moved faster than either of them expected. She is no longer bait in theory. She is bait tonight, huh? In the car, Victor opens a case and checks a handgun with the same calm he used to pour tea. Alina's stomach turns. Then he tells her Anton was more than a source. He was the man responsible for Victor's security. The man who knew every route, every safe house, every weakness. If Anton betrayed him, James is holding part of a war he does not understand. Are you going to kill him? Alina asks. Victor closes the case. I am going to neutralize a threat. That is the same thing dressed better. Victor glances at her. Then help me make sure it does not have to be. The drive to Northwestern is silent except for the wire's faint test static in Alina's ear. Her pulse is loud enough to drown out reason. Victor sits beside her, close but not touching. You can still refuse, he says. She turns to him. No, I cannot. I made sure of that. He does not deny it. When the car stops, Alina sees the library windows glowing in the dark. She could run to campus security, call Zoe, scream. Instead, she steps out and adjusts her coat over the transmitter. Not because she trusts Victor, because for the first time all week, she has a plan of her own inside his plan. James is waiting in the quiet university library, surrounded by stacks and shadows. He looks worse than before, hair messy, eyes red, laptop bag clutched against him. You came, he says with relief that almost breaks her. Alina keeps her voice steady. Tell me what happened. He grabs her arm, not cruelly at first, but too hard. She feels Victor listening through the wire or forces herself not to react. James says Anton was murdered because of the data. He says the files prove Sokolov is moving weapons through charitable shipments. Alina asks who else has seen them. James hesitates. That hesitation tells her there is another player. James offers witness protection, a federal contact, a way out. It sounds like rescue until he says she has to testify against Victor and give him everything she has heard. Alina hears the hunger under the concern. He is scared, yes, but he is also chasing the story. You need me, she says. James looks wounded. I am trying to save you. Then let go of my arm. He releases her, then grabs her shoulders when she turns away. The mask cracks. Do you understand what he is? He says. Do you understand what you are becoming? The question hits harder than his hands. Alina shoves him back. The sound echoes between the shelves. James' grief spills into rage. He says Victor bought her, dressed her up, trained her to betray everyone who ever cared. Some of it is cruel. Some of it is true. That makes it worse. Alina tells him to get help before he gets himself killed. James laughs bitterly and says help is for people who still believe the system works. Then he reaches into his coat. Alina sees the gun before it is fully in his hand. The world narrows. For 1 second, she is not thinking about Victor, her grandmother, or the wire. She is thinking only survive. James is shaking so badly the gun trembles. He says she has to choose. Come with him now or prove she belongs to Sokolov. Alina raises both hands. Her voice drops into the calm she uses for difficult translations. James, listen to me. If you pull that trigger, you lose everything you were trying to protect. He says Victor already took everything. Alina looks at him and suddenly sees a man crushed by fear, pride, and obsession. Not a hero, not a monster, something unstable in between. Then a voice comes from the shadows behind her. Put the gun down, Mercer. Victor has arrived. Victor steps between the shelves with his hands in his coat pockets. Almost casual. 2 of his men remain hidden, but Alina senses them. James swings the gun toward him. Victor does not flinch. That calm changes the room. James looks louder, weaker, more desperate. Victor looks like the ending of a story James wandered into by mistake. You killed Anton. James says. Victor's gaze flicks to Alina. Then back. No, and if I had, I would not have left enough evidence for you to find. It is a horrifying answer because it sounds true. Alina realizes Victor is not denying cruelty. He is denying incompetence. Victor tells James the leak was Irina, the woman who arranged Alina's rooms, clothes, schedules, everything. She had been feeding Anton information. And Anton had been selling pieces to both sides. James's hand wavers. You are lying. Victor names details only a liar would avoid, and only a guilty man could know. Account numbers, drop locations, the gray coat source. The file hidden inside a Children's charity shipment. James's certainty begins to collapse. Alina watches it happen and feels the ground move under her too. If Irina betrayed Victor, then everyone near him is either weapon or target, including Alina, especially Alina. When James' grip loosens, Victor moves. Fast, clean. The gun is out of James' hand before Alina fully sees the motion. Victor S-man pins James against the shelf. Alina should step away from Victor. Instead, she moves toward him. Not into his arms. Not exactly, but close enough that he notices. James notices too. The look on his face is worse than anger. It is recognition. Victor rests a hand lightly against Alina's back. A claim subtle and public. She does not shake it off. That is the choice everyone in the room sees before she is ready to admit she has made it. Victor orders James released with one warning: disappear for 48 hours if he wants to stay alive. James looks at Alina. You are letting him do this. She says nothing because every answer condemns her. Then Victor says Irina has been handled. The phrase drops into the space like a body in water. Alina forces herself not to ask what handled means. That is the moment she feels something inside her split. One part of her is horrified. Another part is relieved the threat is not aimed at her. Victor touches her chin and turns her face toward him. You survived, he says. She knows he means more than tonight. Outside, Victor opens the car door for her like a gentleman. Behind them, James is being taken away a future Alina may never hear about. Elegance and violence stand so close together that her mind can no longer keep them separate. In the car, Victor says she is done being only an employee. Too much, understood too much. What am I then? She asks. He answers, my partner, if you are brave enough. My prisoner, if you keep pretending you are innocent. The words should repulse her. Instead, they feel like a mirror held too close. Then Victor does something unexpected. He offers her the door. Not freedom exactly, but a version of it. Money wired to her account. Her grandmother's treatment paid for 6 months. A car to take her back to the apartment. Walk away now, he says. Alina stares at him, searching for the trick. There is always a trick, but maybe the trick is that he knows she no longer wants the simple life waiting outside the car. Poverty, fear, helplessness, men like James using her guilt. She thinks of how it felt to change the plan, to read the room, to make danger bend around her. I want all of it, she says. Victor's smile is bright and terrible. Then stop apologizing for wanting power. Alina feels the last soft version of herself recoil, but it is tired. So tired, she asks if her grandmother's care continues. Victor says it already has. She asks if Zoe will be left alone. He says yes, unless Zoe becomes a problem. Alina hears the warning and files it away. Not as a victim this time, but as information. And Victor mentions Russia, a few weeks away, her grandmother's homeland. His family has unfinished business. Are you asking me to go? She says. No, he answers. I am asking whether you want to stand beside me when the wolves come. Alina should say no. Instead, she asks one more question. If I belong to your world, do you belong to me in it? Victor's expression shifts, surprised for the first time. Then he says, as much as a man like me can belong to anyone, it is not a healthy promise. It is not even a safe one. But Alina is no longer asking for safety. She leans in and kisses him, not softly, not as a surrender, but as a signature. At the bottom of a contract she knows is written in blood. Victor's hand slides to the back of her neck. This time, she does not mistake the cage for shelter. She chooses the key and the lock together. By dawn, the private jet waits on the runway. Irina stands beside Victor in a black coat. Irina did not choose because Irina is gone. That fact sits between them, unspoken. Mikhail carries her bag. Inside it are her grandmother's books, her old scarf, and a flash drive Alina took from James's bag during the struggle. Victor does not know about it yet, and is waiting to see what she does with it. Either way, Alina is not the woman who entered Nocturne short on rent. She is frightened, yes, but fear is no longer all she has. When Victor offers his hand, she takes it with her eyes open. So Alina flies toward Russia with the Wolf of Chicago. Not rescued and not entirely captured. She has lost something innocent, but gained something dangerous. The tragedy is not only that Victor changed her. It is that part of her wanted to be changed. She learned his language, then started speaking it back. And once a woman learns to survive among wolves, The question is no longer whether she will escape the den. The question is what she will become inside it. Every mafia boss story is not only about power, money, revenge, or fear. Beneath the violence and darkness, there is often a painful human lesson about choices, consequences, loyalty, family, and the price of ambition. This story reminds us that no matter how powerful a person becomes, no one can escape the truth forever. Hundreds of people, and make others tremble at the sound of his name. But if his heart is empty, his victory is never complete. The mafia boss in this story represents a man who built his life on control. He believed that fear was stronger than love, that silence was safer than honesty, and that power could protect him from pain. For years, he may have won every battle in the streets, in business, and among his enemies. But the most important battle was never outside him. It was inside his own heart. That is where he truly lost himself. One of the most meaningful lessons from this story is that power without morality becomes a prison. Many people dream of becoming rich, respected, or feared. They think success means having control over others. But real success is not measured by how many people obey you. It is measured by how many lives you protect, how much peace you create, and how much good remains after you are gone. The mafia boss had money, influence, and protection, but he did not have peace. His life shows us that a person can be surrounded by luxury and still feel completely alone. Another important lesson is that loyalty is valuable, but blind loyalty can destroy lives. In the world of crime, loyalty is often treated like the highest law. People are expected to follow orders without question. Never mean giving up your conscience. A loyal person does not simply protect someone's secrets. A loyal person also has the courage to stop someone from destroying themselves. This story teaches us that loyalty without honesty is dangerous. Real loyalty should be connected to truth, respect, and moral responsibility. The story also shows the heavy cost of revenge. Revenge often feels powerful in the beginning. It gives a person the illusion that pain can be answered with pain, but revenge rarely heals anything. Instead, it creates a chain of suffering that keeps growing. One act of revenge leads to another. One betrayal leads to another. In the end, everyone loses something. The mafia boss may have believed that revenge would restore his honor, but what it truly did was steal his humanity piece by piece. This is a powerful reminder that forgiveness is not weakness. Sometimes, forgiveness is the strongest decision a person can make because it breaks the cycle of hatred. Family is another central lesson in this kind of story. Many mafia bosses claim they do everything for family. They say they commit crimes to protect the people they love. But protection without honesty can become another form of harm. A family does not only need money or security. A family needs trust, emotional safety, and love that is not poisoned by fear. If a father, husband, brother, or son becomes powerful but loses the ability to show tenderness, then his family may live in a beautiful house, but still feel trapped inside it. This story reminds us that children and loved ones often pay the price for the choices of powerful men. The mafia boss may think his decisions only affect his enemies, but every secret, every violent act, and every betrayal leaves a shadow over the innocent people around him. That is why one of the strongest educational messages is this: before making a decision, we must ask ourselves who will suffer because of it. A selfish choice may bring temporary success, but it can create long-term pain for the people we love most. Another meaningful point is the danger of pride. Pride can make a person refuse to apologize, refuse to change, and refuse to admit they are wrong. The mafia boss may have spent years believing that saying sorry would make him look weak, but in reality, the ability to apologize is a sign of strength. It takes courage to face the damage we have caused. It takes maturity to admit that we hurt someone, and it takes true character to change before it is too late. The story also teaches that redemption is possible, but it always requires sacrifice. A person cannot simply say they have changed. They must prove it through action. Redemption means accepting responsibility, protecting the innocent, telling the truth, and sometimes losing everything that was built on lies. For a mafia boss, redemption may mean walking away from power, exposing corruption, saving someone he once endangered, or choosing love over control. The path to redemption is painful because it forces a person to confront the worst parts of themselves, but it is also the only path that can lead to peace. From a human perspective, this story is powerful because it shows that even the hardest heart can still feel pain. Behind the cold eyes of a mafia boss, there may be regret, loneliness, childhood wounds, or a deep fear of being betrayed. This does not excuse his actions, but it helps us understand that broken people often break others when they never learn how to heal. The educational value here is important. Pain should not become an excuse to hurt people. Instead, pain should become a reason to grow, to seek wisdom, and to choose a better path. For viewers, the lesson is not to admire the criminal lifestyle, but to understand its emptiness. The suits, cars, mansions, and power may look attractive from the outside, but behind them there is often fear, guilt, and loss. A life built on violence can never bring true happiness. A life built on lies can never bring true freedom. And a life built on fear can never create real love. In the end, the story of a mafia boss is really a warning. It warns us that every choice has a consequence. It warns us that money cannot buy peace. It warns us that fear cannot replace respect. It warns us that revenge cannot heal a wounded heart. Most importantly, it reminds us that the greatest power a person can have is not the power to control others, but the power to control themselves. The deepest lesson is simple but meaningful. Choose character over pride, love over control, truth over silence, and forgiveness over revenge. No matter how dark a person's past may be, change is possible when they are willing to face the truth. But the longer someone waits, the higher the price becomes. A mafia boss may win the streets, defeat his enemies, and build an empire, but if he loses his soul, he has lost everything. True strength is not found in violence. True strength is found in responsibility, compassion, humility, and the courage to become better before it is too late.